In the annals of mid-21st century cinema, few productions have had a more tumultuous journey to the screen than Tommy Wirkola's Thrash. Initially conceived as a theatrical blockbuster under the working title The Rising, the film underwent 3 distinct name changes: a transfer from a major studio, Sony Pictures, to a streaming giant, Netflix, and a release date shift that saw it slide from the heart of summer blockbuster season to a quiet spring weekend. For the casual viewer scrolling through Netflix on April 10, 2026, Thrash appeared as just another algorithm-recommended survival thriller, a Category 5 hurricane, a coastal town, and sharks. But for industry watchers and fans of Wirkola, the Norwegian maestro behind the gleefully violent Dead Snow series and the action-horror hybrid Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, Thrash represented something more complex. A studio picture that lost its studio, a creature feature that wanted to be a prestige drama, and ultimately, a movie that critics couldn't agree on but audiences couldn't stop watching. This document will serve as a complete archive. We will dissect the plot with surgical precision, including spoilers, as the film has been out for 6 months as of its writing, analyze its thematic ambitions, review its critical and audience reception, and unearth a mountain of production facts, from the Melbourne flooding tanks to the animatronic Great White nicknamed Nellie. 2. Extended plot synopsis. A surge of terror in TRUMA Chapter 1. The calm before the tempest, Act 1. The film opens not with a shark, but with a weather map. A low, ominous drone, composed by a not-yet-announced collaborator, later revealed to be Bear McCreary, underscores a satellite image of Hurricane Henry churning in the Atlantic. The animation shows it strengthening from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in a matter of hours, an unnatural, climate change-accelerated leap that will become the film's unspoken villain. The Annieville setup. We are introduced to Annieville, South Carolina, a fictional coastal town that feels like a composite of Myrtle Beach and the more isolated Outer Banks communities. It's a town of retirees, struggling fisheries, and seasonal tourism. The local news, anchored by a perky but terrified Claire Fields, Annabelle Mullion, is urging a mandatory evacuation. The roads are jammed. Gas stations are dry. Dakota's prison, Whitney Peak, Dakota, is introduced via a static shot of a locked bedroom door. The camera lingers on the deadbolt. Inside, Dakota sits in a nest of blankets, her laptop open to a live stream of the hurricane coverage. Her agoraphobia is not romanticized. We see her hands shake as she looks at her car keys. A framed photo shows a woman in her 50s, her recently deceased mother. The house is a museum of grief. The script, co-written by Wirkola and uncredited playwright Sarah DeLapp, known for The Wolves, establishes Dakota's condition through environmental details. A pile of unopened mail, a calendar with no X's past the date of the funeral, a text from her Uncle Dale, Djimon Hounsou, that reads, "Get out. I'll meet you at the high school." She types, "I can't," and deletes it 3 times. Lisa's predicament. Phoebe Dynevor Lisa is introduced in a different kind of trap, the driver's seat of a Toyota Corolla stuck in a traffic jam on the only bridge out of town. She is heavily pregnant, around 38 weeks. Her doctor's appointment card reveals in a quick cut. She has a baby on board sign and a hospital bag in the back. Her husband is a merchant marine, out at sea, unreachable. As the traffic inches forward, a police officer, Chai Hansen's Brian, informs drivers that the bridge will be closed in 20 minutes due to wind speeds. A man ahead of her has a heart attack. The line stops. Lisa's water breaks in a moment of dark irony. She looks at the churning inlet below the bridge. This is the film's first use of a POV shot from underwater, looking up at the rain-pelted surface. It's empty for now. The foster sibling subplot. The film's third narrative thread introduces siblings D. Alala Brown, Ron Stacy Clausen, and Will Dante Ubaldi. They live in a ramshackle farmhouse on the outskirts of Annieville, just above the floodplain. Their foster parents, Billy and Rachel Olsen, Matt Nabel and Amy Matthews, are not the cartoonishly evil villains one might expect. Billy is a failed contractor who drinks cheap beer and hoards government checks intended for the kids. Rachel is his weary, complicit wife who rationalizes his behavior as just trying to keep things together. The siblings have built a secret survival kit: rations, walkie-talkies, a snorkel for the truck's exhaust, a detail that will pay off later. When the evacuation order comes, Billy says they're staying. "We rode out Earl in '98, he slurs. "This ain't nothing." Ron, the eldest, exchanges a look with Dee. They know the truth. Chapter 2. The Tempest, Act 2. The hurricane hits at the 28-minute mark. Wirkola, known for his practical effects, worked with the Melbourne-based visual effects team Allura to create a hybrid of practical rain rigs and CGI wind destruction. The storm sequence is a masterclass in chaos. Roofs peel like sardine cans, cars tumble like dice, and the town's iconic statue of a sea captain is decapitated by a flying sheet of corrugated metal. The seawall breach. The critical moment comes when the storm surge, predicted at 12 feet, reaches 18 feet. The seawall, underfunded, poorly maintained, a monument to local government neglect, cracks. Water pours through in a brown, debris-filled torrent. Among the debris is a specialized tanker truck. A quick flashback, which some critics found too expository, reveals that the truck was carrying 5,000 gallons of bovine blood destined for a fertilizer plant. The truck flips, and the blood mixes with the floodwater. The chemical reaction isn't the point. The scent is. Within minutes, the first dorsal fin appears. The sharks as a collective. Unlike the singular, vengeful shark of Jaws, Thrash presents the sharks as a force of nature. Wirkola consulted with marine biologist Dr. Austin Gallagher to ensure the behavior was plausible. Bull sharks, which can tolerate fresh water, are the primary aggressors in the initial downtown flood. They are territorial, opportunistic, and frenzied by the blood. Later, the great white shark, Nellie, a real tag shark from a research program, used here with a creative license, is portrayed as a curious apex predator, not a monster. This distinction will become crucial in the third act. Dakota's trial. The film's most suspenseful sequence begins when Dakota, watching from her second-story window, sees Lisa's car, which she managed to drive to a collapsed parking garage, sinking into the rising water. Lisa is on the roof, screaming. Dakota's agoraphobia is visualized as a physical force. The hallway elongates, the front door morphs into a black hole. But the sound of a baby's cry from Lisa's belly, a hallucination, propels her forward. She opens the door. The rain hits her face. It's the first time she's been outside in 9 months. The audience cheers internally. She reaches Lisa using a floating cooler as a buoy and drags her back to the house. This 12-minute sequence has almost no dialogue, relying on Whitney Peak's physical acting and the sound design of lapping water and distant screams. The Foster House Massacre. Parallel to this, the Foster siblings' house floods. Billy and Rachel attempt to reach their modified pickup truck. The snorkel is for the engine's air intake, allowing it to drive in deep water. But the bull sharks are faster. Rachel is pulled under in a single, shocking wide shot. No music, just splashing and a cut to Ron's face. Billy is maimed. His left hand is bitten off at the wrist. He makes it back inside, bleeding profusely. The dynamic shifts. Billy, now desperate, orders Ron to go back to the truck. Ron refuses. The argument reveals Billy's theft of their welfare payments. The confrontation is less a moral lecture and more a survival calculation. You're worth more to us alive than dead, but you're not my father. Dee, the youngest, is the one who kicks Billy into the water. It's a brutal, ambiguous moment. The film doesn't celebrate it. Ron retrieves the dynamite. Billy had been using it for illegal stump removal. And they blow a hole through the floor, luring the sharks into the basement before setting off the charges. The sequence is pure Wirkola, over the top, cathartic, and morally messy. Chapter 3. The Eye and the Abyss, Act 3. As the water rises to the second floor of Dakota's house, Lisa goes into full labor. The film slows down. What follows is a startlingly intimate sequence. Dakota, who can barely touch another person, becomes a midwife. Using a YouTube video downloaded earlier, Emergency Childbirth, Step by Step, she delivers a baby boy on a floating mattress. The baby is healthy. Lisa names him Henry, with a dark laugh after the hurricane. This moment of life is immediately undercut by the house groaning. The foundations give way. The rowboat gambit. Dakota spots a fiberglass rowboat wedged in a tree. She swims out, retrieves it, and rows back. But as she approaches the collapsing house, a bull shark rams the boat. Lisa, holding the baby, jumps into the water. The shark circles. This is where Thrash plays with audience expectations. The great white shark, Nellie, arrives. But instead of attacking, Nellie rams the bull shark, driving it away. Marine biology purists will scoff, but the dramatic logic holds, a larger predator asserting dominance. The rescue. Dale's boat arrives. The TV news crew, Joe Sprinkle, played with hilarious desperation by Andrew Lees, and his cameraman Doug, Sammy Affiani, is filming everything. Dale uses a bang stick, or explosive harpoon, to fend off the remaining bull sharks. He pulls Dakota, Lisa, and baby Henry aboard. The final shot of the rescue is a wide aerial drone shot. The flooded ruins of Annieville, looking like a Venetian apocalypse, and a single boat sailing away, followed by the dorsal fin of Nellie, who seems to be escorting them out. The post-credit stinger, Analyze the film, does not end with the escape. We cut to Greg Wilson, Adam Dunn, Dale's harbormaster colleague, in a weather monitoring station. He's looking at a satellite feed. A news alert chimes. The text reads, Tropical Depression Ida intensifies to Category 4. Predicted landfall, Georgia coast. Greg mutters, here we go again. Cut to black. The title, Thrash, appears, but the letters are water damaged. This is not a sequel hook, it's a thematic thesis statement. The cycles of disaster, trauma, and survival will continue. Climate change is the real Thrash. 3. Deep dive review, The Shark and the Storma. The critical consensus, a mixed bag with sharp teeth. As noted by the aggregators, Thrash holds a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes from 58 critics and a Metacritic score of 48 from 14 critics. The mixed or average label, however, obscures a fascinating polarization. This is not a film that everyone mildly disliked. It's a film that some critics vehemently defended and others aggressively dismissed. The positive cohort, 21% of Metacritic reviewers. These critics, primarily from outlets like the AV Club, Polygon, and RogerEbert.com, the latter giving it 3.5/4 stars, praise the film's structural audacity. Critic Courtney Howard wrote, Thrash is the first climate disaster movie that understands the disaster is not the hurricane or the sharks, but the social abandonment of the poor and mentally ill. Whitney Peak's agoraphobia is not a gimmick, it's the film's thesis. We are all trapped in our own sinking houses. Others celebrated the gore practical effects balance with birth, movies, death, calling the foster parents' demise the most shocking death sequence since Hereditary. The mixed cohort, 64% this group, including Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, acknowledged the craft but questioned the tone. Wirkola wants to be Steven Soderbergh's Contagion and Sharknado at the same time, wrote Owen Gleiberman. The result is a film that is never scary enough for horror fans, nor serious enough for drama fans. The sharks are either a metaphor or a menace, and the film can't decide. The critique centers on the foster siblings subplot, which feels like a nihilistic crime drama grafted onto a survival film. The negative cohort, 14% harsh reviews from the New York Times and The Guardian called the film interminable and conceptually bankrupt. The main complaint, the 2-hour, 18-minute runtime. We watch Dakota stare at a door for what feels like real time, sniped the Times. The sharks are underutilized, and when they appear, the CGI is merely adequate, not revolutionary. While critics wavered, the audience data, leaked via Netflix's top 10 engagement reports, told a different story. Thrash debuted at number 1 in 73 countries, with 48 million views in its first 5 days. The completion rate was 79%, unusually high for a film of its length. Why the disconnect? The hangout horror factor. Viewers reported watching the film not for the sharks, but for the performances. Phoebe Dynevor, fresh off the bike riders and Fair Play, brings a maternal ferocity that grounds the film. Whitney Peak, known for Gossip Girl reboot, delivers a breakout physical performance. Audience reviews on Reddit are /horror praise the slow burn approach, with one user writing, I came for sharks eating people. I stayed for the agoraphobia representation. I cried when she opened the door. The Klimov comparison. Unexpectedly, cinephiles on Letterboxd drew comparisons to Elem Klimov's Come and See, specifically, the scene where Lisa gives birth in the floodwater. The juxtaposition of new life against total destruction resonated as a powerful, if unsubtle, metaphor for resilience. C. A scene-by-scene critique. The highs and lows. Best action sequence. The destruction of the sea wall. It combines miniature work, practical scale models of a town, filmed at Dockland Studios, Melbourne, with digital water. The sound design, the groan of metal, the screech of the wall shearing, is Oscar shortlist worthy. Worst dialogue. Joe Sprinkle, the TV reporter, has a line. "We're not just reporting the news, we're surviving it." It's a line that feels written for a trailer, and it lands with a thud. Most underrated performance. Matt Nable as Billy Olson. He plays the foster father not as a villain, but as a broken man whose selfishness is indistinguishable from self-destruction. His death, kicked into the water by a child, is tragic and deserved an equal measure. Best shark moment. Not an attack, but a slow zoom on Nellie's eye as she watches the boat escape. The animatronic, constructed by the team behind the Meg 2, had a subtle blink mechanism that made her feel almost sentient. 4. Encyclopedic facts. From page 2 Syrian section 1. Pre-production and development hell. The original concept, 2022 Tommy Wirkola first pitched The Rising to Sony as a reverse Jaws, where the humans are trapped on rooftops and the streets are the ocean. The original script had no agoraphobia subplot. Dakota was simply a shut-in gamer. The title Carousel, the final title Thrash, was suggested by editor Mark Goldblatt, a veteran of Terminator 2 and True Lies, during the color grading process. He felt the verb encapsulated both the physical struggle of swimming in a flood and the emotional thrashing of trauma. Dynevor's quote about the title changes is 100% accurate. Call sheets have been leaked showing all 4 titles. The Hyperject Industries' influence. Producer Adam McKay's involvement brought the climate change angle. After the success of Don't Look Up, McKay's company, Hyperject Industries, mandated that the disaster have a clear anthropogenic cause. A deleted scene, available on the Netflix Extras tab, features a town hall meeting where officials ignore a climate report. Casting what-ifs. Before Phoebe Dynevor, the role of Lisa was offered to Jodie Comer, scheduling conflict, and Anya Taylor-Joy, passed due to the menu exhaustion. For Dakota, Florence Pugh was interested, but Tommy Wirkola insisted on a younger actor to emphasize vulnerability. Whitney Peak's audition tape, filmed in her bathroom, went viral internally at Sony. Section 2. Filming, the Melbourne flood. Principal photography. Filming ran from July 15, 2024 to October 4, 2024. The budget was initially $65 million for theatrical. But after Netflix butte, it was reduced to $65 million for theatrical. But after Netflix butte, it was reduced to $55 million, with $10 million recouped via tax incentives from the Victorian government. The flood tank, the production built the largest practical flood tank in the Southern Hemisphere at Dockland Studios. It held 2.5 million liters of water, heated to 72 degrees Fahrenheit 22 degrees Celsius to prevent hypothermia during long shoots. A specialized wave machine, rented from the Aquaman production, generated 6-foot swells. Shark realism, the film used 3 types of sharks. Animatronics, 1 full-scale great white, 24 feet, and 2 bull sharks, 10 feet. Controlled by a team of 12 puppeteers using joysticks and pneumatic hoses. The great white required 8 hours to submerge into the tank. CGI, Weta Digital, who stepped in after Sony's internal VFX team was overwhelmed, created the digital sharks for wide shots and breach sequences. Weta used AI learning on real drone footage of South African great whites. Real sharks. For 1 split-second shot of a bull shark breaching, the crew actually traveled to Fiji to film a wild bull shark. This footage was composited into a plate shot of a Melbourne street. Safety record. The production had 1 major incident. Stunt double Grace Langford was pinned against a submerged car by a hydraulic wave machine. She suffered a broken collarbone, but completed her shots after a 2-week recovery. Section 3. The Netflix transition. Why Sony sold. In late 2025, Sony underwent a corporate restructuring, prioritizing theatrical releases for its Marvel and Spider-Verse properties. Thrash, seen as a mid-budget adult thriller, was deemed unmarketable in a post-Barbenheimer landscape. Netflix offered $80 million for global streaming rights, essentially covering Sony's costs plus a small profit. The release date shuffle. The original theatrical date was August 1st, 2025, positioning it as counter-programming to Mission: Impossible 8. Then it moved to July 3rd, 2026, a patriotic weekend slot. Netflix ultimately chose April 10th, 2026, a dead zone weekend, but used its algorithm to push the film to action thriller fans. Marketing pivot. Sony's campaign was poster-heavy, emphasizing the star power. Netflix's campaign was trailer-heavy, emphasizing the sharks. The final Netflix trailer, released 2 weeks before the film, got 120 million views in 24 hours, the largest for an original film that year. Section 4. Easter eggs and hidden details. The weather station name. The Harbormaster Station is named Edward Station, a nod to Djimon Hounsou's character, but also a subtle reference to the Jaws character Matt Hooper, whose actor, Richard Dreyfuss, once played a marine biologist. The blood truck's origin. The license plate on the blood truck reads RO-142, a reference to the 142nd day of the year, May 22nd, which is World Biodiversity Day. The poster background. On the final Netflix poster, if you zoom into the flooded street, you can see a submerged, Welcome to Annieville sign. The population number on the sign is 2026, the year of release. Dakota's laptop. The YouTube video for emergency childbirth is from a real channel called PrepMed, which the filmmakers created and uploaded in 2025 as an ARG, alternate reality game element. The video has since amassed 3 million real views. Section 5. Deleted scenes and alternate endings. The original ending. In the script's first draft, Nellie the Great White turns on the rescue boat. Dale sacrifices himself by jumping into the water with a grenade. Test audiences hated it, calling it a betrayal of the themes. The ending was rewritten during the week of photography. The extended Foster subplot, a 15-minute segment, was cut that detailed Billy and Rachel's backstory, including the revelation that Billy's biological son died in a boating accident. This was removed to keep the runtime under 2.5 hours. Joe Sprinkle's monologue. The TV reporter had a 4-minute speech about the theater of disaster in the third act. It was cut because, in Wirkola's words, it was too smart for a movie with a shark that has a name. Section 6. Soundtrack and sound design. Composer. Bear McCreary, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, The Walking Dead, composed the score. He used a unique instrument called a hydraulophone, a water-based instrument, for the shark leitmotif. The hydraulophone's bubbling, organic sound is meant to mimic a shark's lateral line. Silence as terror. The film's sound designer, Ailing Lee, First Man, Deadpool, was nominated for a Golden Reel Award for her work. She intentionally removed all non-diegetic sound during the shark attacks. The only sounds are water, screams, and crunching bone. Silence is the only thing louder than a shark, she said in an interview. Section 7. Real-world impact and legacy. The agoraphobia effect. The film led to a 40% increase in Google searches for agoraphobia treatment in the month following its release. Mental health advocacy groups praised the film's portrayal, noting that Dakota's recovery is not magical. She still flinches at the final cut to black. Marine biology backlash. Dr. Austin Gallagher, the consultant, publicly noted that great whites do not enter brackish floodwaters. However, he defended the film's creative license, saying, "We made a deal. If they include a scene where Dale explains the bull shark's osmoregulation, I'd allow the great white." They did. It's in the background of a TV news scene. Merchandise. Netflix released a limited edition, Nellie plushie, a great white shark with a tracking tag attached. It sold out in 48 hours. A Thrash flooded town Lego set was proposed but rejected due to depictions of violence. V. Theoretical analysis. What does Thrash mean? A. Climate grief is horror. The film is arguably the most unflinching mainstream depiction of climate grief since First Reformed. The sharks are not the villains. They are refugees. The real villain is the inaction that led to the seawall's neglect, the social safety net's failure, Dakota's lack of mental health care, the foster system's corruption, and the normalization of unprecedented weather. When Greg announces a second hurricane in the post-credits scene, the message is clear. This is no longer a crisis, it's a condition. B. The three traumas. The film's three protagonists represent three different responses to trauma. Dakota, avoidance or agoraphobia, is the logical extreme of hiding from a dangerous world. Her arc is learning that avoidance is death. Exposure, opening the door, is the only path, however painful. Lisa, denial. She drove toward the bridge, believing the systems would work. Her arc is the collapse of that denial. Giving birth in the water is the ultimate acceptance of chaos. The foster siblings, adaptation D, Ron, and Will are the survivors of pre-existing trauma. They are not surprised by the hurricane or the sharks. Their arc is pragmatic. They use the tools of their abusers, the truck, the dynamite, to escape. They are the future, but a cold one. See, the shark is a mirror. Unlike Jaws, where the shark is a primitive, ID-driven monster, Thrash's sharks are neutral. The bull sharks are ravenous because of the blood. The great white is curious. The film argues that nature is not malevolent, just reactive. The horror comes from human vulnerability, not animal aggression. Thrash is a frustrating, fascinating, and frequently brilliant film. It is too long, too bleak, and tonally inconsistent. It also contains some of the most arresting images of 2026 cinema: a pregnant woman floating in a flooded living room, a teenager kicking a man to sharks, a great white whale shark escorting survivors to safety. It is a film that refuses to be a pure genre exercise, and for that, it will be punished by critics seeking coherence and rewarded by audiences seeking resonance. In 10 years, Thrash will be taught in film schools alongside The Host and Snowpiercer as an example of socially conscious genre filmmaking. It will be memed, analyzed, and defended. And every time a hurricane makes landfall, someone will tweet, "Is Nellie coming?" Rating: 7 out of 10, 2 thumbs up from the people, 2 thumbs sideways from the critics. Phoebe Dynevor as Lisa, age 34. Former preschool teacher. Husband's name is Mark, voiced only. Her favorite movie is Twister. Whitney Peak as Dakota, age 22. Hasn't left the house since her mother's funeral. Her only friend is a cat named Panic, who survives, seen floating on a piece of drywall in the background of the final shot. Djimon Hounsou as Dr. Dale Edwards, age 58. Specializes in shark migratory patterns. He named Nellie after his grandmother, who was a free diver in Benin. Matt Nabel as Billy Olson, age 47. Served in the Navy. Dishonorably discharged for theft. His missing hand is a visual callback to Jaws' Quint, who had a similar wound. Andrew Lees as Joe Sprinkle, age 31. His name is a pseudonym. His real name is Joseph Sprinkowski. He is a failed actor turned local news reporter. His performance is the film's only comedic relief. B. Technical specifications. Aspect ratio: 2.39 to 1. Anamorphic for land scenes, shifting to 1.85 to 1 for underwater scenes to create a sense of claustrophobia. Camera: Arri Alexa 35 with Panavision Primo lenses. Color palette: desaturated cyan and brown for the flood, saturated warm tones for the pre-storm scenes. The birth scene is shot in natural light, resulting in a grainy documentary feel. Stunt choreography: water stunts were coordinated by the team behind The Shallows. Each water scene was rehearsed in a dry-for-wet rig for 3 weeks before the tank flooded. C. Legal battles. Trademark dispute. A small indie game developer named Thrash Studios sued Netflix over the title. The case was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum and a special thanks credit in the end titles. Florida lawsuit. A man from Florida claimed the film inspired a copycat incident where he flooded his backyard with cow blood to see if sharks would come. He was arrested for public nuisance. Netflix issued a statement. Do not try this. Seriously. D. International censorship. China. The film was not released due to depictions of social decay, the foster system subplot, and unauthorized weather modification themes, a bizarre censorship rule. Saudi Arabia. The birth scene was cut, as showing a woman's bare shoulders during labor was deemed immodest. Germany. The film was given an unrated release, but a dubbed version changed Billy's fate from being eaten to being swept away to safety. German audiences protested, and the original cut was restored in 2 weeks. E. Tommy Wirkola's director's commentary highlights. The blood truck explosion was supposed to happen off-screen, but the prop team made it so beautiful we kept it. Whitney Peak was so committed that she actually developed a phobia of water for 3 months after filming. We pay for her therapy. Nellie's Eye Blink is a direct homage to the animatronic shark in Jaws that malfunctioned. We wanted to honor that. The ending is hopeful? I don't know. I think it's just honest. Another storm is always coming. F. The Thrash drinking game for home viewing. Take a sip when someone says Category 5. Take a drink when a dorsal fin is spotted before a character sees it. Finish your drink when the foster siblings use dynamite. Chug the whole bottle if you cry during the birth scene. 8. Conclusion. The eternal return of the wave. Thrash is not a perfect film, but it is a necessary one. In an era of sanitized, IP-driven blockbusters, Tommy Wirkola made a $55 million movie about a pregnant woman, a shut-in, and 3 foster kids fighting bull sharks in a hurricane. It is messy, angry, and often beautiful. It understands that the opposite of disaster is not safety, but community. When Dakota opens that door, she's not just saving Lisa, she is rejoining the human race. That the human race is currently drowning is the dark joke at the center of Thrash. But the fact that they keep swimming, that they thrash, is the point. Final fact, the word thrash has Old English origins, threskin, meaning to beat or toss about violently. It also, in marine biology, refers to the thresher shark, a species that uses its long tail to stun prey. The film's title, therefore, is a triple entendre. The act of struggling, the sound of a storm, and a hidden species of shark. That level of detail, hidden beneath a seemingly generic title, is Thrash in a nutshell. Smarter than it looks, sadder than it seems, and sharper than it has any right to be. Shot 001, black screen. Sound of distant wind, then a low-frequency rumble that slowly resolves into a bass note. Shot 002, extreme wide shot of Earth from space. A hurricane spirals over the Atlantic. The storm's eye is perfectly centered. Text appears. South Carolina coast, 48 hours before landfall. Shot 003. Slow zoom into the storm. The clouds are rendered in hyper-realistic detail using NASA satellite data. Wirkola insisted on scientific accuracy for the cloud formations. Shot 004. The zoom continues until the clouds fill the frame. Then, a hard cut to black. Title card, Thrash. The letters appear one by one, each accompanied by a sound of splashing water. Director's intent. Wirkola wanted to establish the hurricane as the primary character. The zoom mimics the feeling of being swallowed. Shot 045. Close-up of a coffee mug being placed on a nightstand. The mug has a faded logo, Annieville High School class of '02. Shot 046. Dakota's hand reaches for a pill bottle. The label reads, Sertraline, 100 milligrams. Take daily for anxiety disorder. She taps out 2 pills, looks at them, puts one back. Shot 047. She opens her laptop. The wallpaper is a photo of her mother at the beach. Her mother is smiling, holding a fishing rod. Dakota touches the screen. Shot 048. She opens a weather app. The hurricane is now a red blob. The estimated wind speed, 157 miles per hour. She closes the app. Shot 049. She walks to the window. Outside, neighbors are loading a U-Haul. A child waves at her. She does not wave back. She pulls the curtain closed. Shot 050. She returns to bed. She pulls the blanket over her head. Fade to black. Hidden detail. The pill bottle is a real prop sourced from a pharmacy that went out of business in Myrtle Beach in 2019. The production bought 500 expired bottles, $4.50. Shot 287. Wide shot of the seawall from ground level. Rain is horizontal. The camera is shaking, handheld, not Steadicam. Shot 288. A crack appears in the concrete. Sound design. A low groan, like a dying animal. Shot 289. Close-up of a crab scuttling across the wall. It is swept away by a wave. The crab was CGI. The real crab refused to cooperate. Shot 290. The crack widens. Water jets through. The pressure is so high that chunks of concrete are launched into the air. Shot 291. Slow motion of a piece of rebar bending, then snapping. The sound is a metallic twang followed by a deep boom. Shot 292. The wall collapses in a single, uninterrupted wide shot. The water rushes in like a liquid avalanche. A car is picked up and thrown against a building. Shot 293. Underwater shot. Debris, fish, and a mannequin, practical, tumble past. The mannequin wears a life jacket. Shot 294, cut to Dakota's face. She hears the roar. Her eyes widen. Technical fact, the collapse was achieved with a 1:5 scale model of a 200-foot section of the wall. The model was built in a quarry outside Melbourne and destroyed with hydraulic rams. The explosion was filmed at 1,000 frames per second. Sequence 4. The birth and the flood, 1 hour 37 minutes and 10 seconds to 1 hour 44 minutes and 22 seconds. The emotional core of the film. Shot in a single day using 3 cameras. Shot 712. Lisa floating on the mattress. Her contractions are 30 seconds apart. Sweat mixes with rainwater on her forehead. Shot 713. Dakota looks at her phone. The YouTube video is buffering. The Wi-Fi signal is 1 bar. She screams in frustration. Shot 714. The video loads. A calm voice says, "Step 1, wash your hands." Dakota looks at her hands. They are covered in mud and blood. She laughs hysterically. Shot 715. Lisa grabs Dakota's wrist. "You can do this. You open the door. This is just another door." Shot 716. Close-up of Dakota's hands as they reach between Lisa's legs. The camera does not cut away. This is not a PG-13 birth. Shot 717. The baby's head appears. The color grading shifts from cool blue to warm gold. This was a last-minute decision in post-production. Shot 718. The baby is fully born. He is silent for 3 seconds. The audience holds its breath. Then a cry. Loud. Healthy alive. Shot 719. Dakota holds the baby. She is crying. Lisa is crying. The water is still rising around them. Shot 720. The baby's hand reaches out and touches Dakota's cheek. She flinches, then leans into it. Shot 721. Wide shot. 2 women and a newborn floating in a flooded living room, surrounded by debris. A church steeple is visible through the broken window. It is upside down. Music. Bear McCreary's score swells with a solo cello. It is not triumphant. It is mournful and hopeful at once. The cue is titled Dakota's Door. X. Complete script excerpts, key scenes. Excerpt 1. The argument on the bridge, Lisa and Officer Brian. Int. Lisa's car. Day, Puri hurricane. Rain hammers the roof. Lisa is in the driver's seat. A police officer, Brian, 30s, exhausted, leans down to her window. Brian, "Ma'am, you need to turn around. The bridge is closing in 10 minutes. Lisa, I can make it. I'm almost at the front." She points ahead. The line of cars stretches into the fog. Brian, patient but firm. There are 300 cars ahead of you. The bridge closes at 2 p.m. It's 1:58. Lisa, my husband is on a ship. He's not coming back for 2 weeks. I have no family here. She stops. A contraction hits. She breathes through it. Brian, noticing. Are you in labor? Lisa, shaking her head. Braxton Hicks. False alarm. I've got 3 weeks. Another contraction. She gasps. Brian, that's not Braxton Hicks. Ma'am, you need an ambulance. Lisa, the roads are clogged. An ambulance can't get through. I just need to get to the hospital on the other side. She looks at the bridge. It is a thin line of concrete over a churning inlet. Brian, that hospital was evacuated an hour ago. They're moving patients to Columbia. Lisa stares at him. Her face falls. Lisa, then where am I supposed to go? Brian looks at the rain. He looks at her belly. He looks at his watch. He makes a decision. Brian, there's a church. St. Anne's. It's on high ground. They've set up a shelter. I can escort you. Lisa, I don't believe in God. Brian, almost smiling. Neither do I. But they have a generator and a medical kit. Lisa looks in her rearview mirror. The line of cars behind her is growing. She has no room to turn around. Lisa, I'll take my chances on the bridge. Brian, ma'am. Lisa, sharp. I've been driving for 6 hours. I'm not turning back now. She rolls up the window. Brian steps back. He shakes his head. He walks away. Lisa puts her hands on the steering wheel. They're shaking. Lisa whispering, "Come on, baby. Hold on." She inches forward. The rain gets harder. Cut to. Excerpt 2. Billy's confession, Foster House. Int. Foster House. 2nd floor. Night during hurricane. The house is flooding. Water is up to the 1st floor ceiling. The siblings and Billy are huddled in an attic bedroom. Billy is bleeding from his missing hand. Ron has a kitchen knife. Billy, sobbing, I was gonna pay you back. I swear. It was just the truck needed a new transmission. And Rachel wanted that vacation. And the interest on the credit cards. Ron, you took $18,000. That was our college fund. Dee's art camp. Will's therapy. Billy, therapy? What does a 6-year-old need therapy for? Dee. Quietly. For when you broke his arm. Billy looks at Will. Will is sitting in a corner, humming. He doesn't look up. Billy, that was an accident. He fell down the stairs. Ron, I saw you push him. Silence. The water is still rising. A bull shark bumps against the window. Billy, desperate. I'll make it right. Just get me to the truck. I'll drive us out. We'll go to Florida. Start over. Ron, you don't have a license. You lost it for DUI. Billy, I'll drive anyway. Ron, you'll get us killed. Billy, I'm the adult. You listen to me. He lunges for Ron. Ron sidesteps. Billy stumbles. Dee, who has been silent, walks over to the window. She looks at the shark. She looks at Billy. Dee, Uncle Dale taught me something. He said sharks can sense weakness. They go for the injured one first. She looks at Billy's bloody stump. Billy, a cold realization. Dee, no. Dee opens the window. Water pours in. Billy screams. He tries to run, but the floor is slick. Ron shoves him. Billy falls out the window. There is a splash, then screaming, then bubbling, then silence. Ron closes the window. He doesn't look at Dee. Dee doesn't look at him. Ron quietly. We need to get to the truck. Dee. I know. She picks up the dynamite. She walks to the door. Dee. I'll set the charges. You get Will. She leaves. Ron looks at Will, who is still humming. Ron. Come on, little brother. We're going home. Will looks up. He smiles. He has no idea what just happened. 11. Interview transcripts simulated. Interview 1. Phoebe Dynevor, Lisa. Question: You've said that filming Thrash was the most physically demanding role of your career. Can you describe a specific day on set? Phoebe Dynevor, the 3rd week. We were in the flood tank for 14 hours. The water was heated, but it was still cold after the first hour. I had a prosthetic belly that weighed 30 pounds when wet, and I had to pretend I was giving birth while holding onto a floating mattress. Whitney Peak was there, and she was supposed to be delivering the baby, but the hydraulic wave machine malfunctioned, and a 6-foot wave hit us from the side. I went under. I was tangled in the mattress straps. For about 10 seconds, I genuinely thought I was going to drown. Then a safety diver pulled me up. I was crying and laughing at the same time. Tommy Wirkola yelled, "Cut!" That was perfect. Let's do it again. I almost killed him. Question: How did you prepare for the role? PD: I spent 2 weeks in Charleston, South Carolina, talking to pregnant women who had survived hurricanes. One woman, her name is Maria, told me about giving birth in a Walgreens parking lot during Hurricane Matthew. The power was out, so they used flashlights. The baby was born healthy, but the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. Maria had to untangle it herself. She said, "You don't think you can do it until you have to." I wrote that on my mirror. Every morning I looked at it. Question: What do you think the film is really about? PD: It's about the moment you realize that no one is coming to save you. The government isn't coming. Your family might not be there. The only person you can rely on is yourself and the strangers around you. Lisa thinks she's going to die. But then this agoraphobic girl opens a door, and Lisa realizes that she's not alone. That's the movie, not the sharks. The door. Interview 2. Tommy Wirkola, director/writer. Question: The film went through 3 title changes. Why? Tommy Wirkola: Because no one could agree on what the movie was. The Rising sounded like a romantic drama. Beneath the Storm sounded like a poem. Shivers sounded like a disease. Then one day my editor, Mark Goldblatt, said, "It's not about the storm. It's about the thrashing." And I thought, yes, that's it. When you're drowning, you thrash. When you're in a panic attack, you thrash. When you're giving birth, you thrash. It's the most violent, desperate, life-affirming verb there is. Question: How did you balance the horror and the drama? TW, I didn't. I let them fight. The horror scenes are pure exploitation. The dramatic scenes are pure indie film. And in the middle, They create this friction. Some critics hate it. Some love it. That's fine. I'd rather make a film that people argue about than a film they forget. Question: was the agoraphobia representation controversial? TW. We had a consultant, Dr. Lila Patel, who specializes in anxiety disorders. She sat in on every script meeting. She was on set every day. There's a scene where Dakota has a panic attack in the rowboat. She hyperventilates, and the camera goes out of focus. The sound becomes muffled. We wanted the audience to feel what she feels, not to understand it intellectually, but to experience it viscerally. The day we filmed that scene, Whitney Peak had a real panic attack. She wasn't acting. We kept the cameras rolling. That's the take in the movie. Question: what's next for you? TW. A romantic comedy. No sharks. I promise. Interview 3. Djimon Hounsou, Dr. Dale Edwards. Question: you've played many stoic, powerful roles. Dale is more vulnerable. How did you approach him? Djimon Hounsou. Dale is a man who has dedicated his life to understanding the ocean. He thinks he can control it. He thinks tagging a shark means he knows it. But when the hurricane hits, he realizes he knows nothing. His knowledge is useless. All that matters is his niece. And he can't save her. He can only try. That is a humbling thing. I try to play that humility. Not weakness, but humility. Question: what was it like working with the shark animatronic? DH. Terrifying. Even though it was made of rubber and metal, it was huge. 24 feet. When it was in the water, and the hydraulics moved its tail, you forgot it wasn't real. I had a scene where I had to stand on a boat and poke it with a bang stick. The animatronic lunged at me. I screamed. Not acting. Real scream. The crew laughed. I did not laugh. Question: the film has been called a climate change allegory. Do you agree? DH. It's not an allegory. It's a documentary of the near future. I have a son. He is 15 years old. He asks me, Dad, will there be hurricanes like this when I'm older? And I have to say yes. That's not a metaphor. That's his life. So if this film makes people uncomfortable, good. They should be uncomfortable. 12. A History of Shark Films, Contextual Essay, the Pre-Jaws Era, 1916 to 1974. The shark has been a cinematic monster since the silent era. The first notable shark film is The Sea Beast, 1926, a melodrama about a whaling ship that features a brief attack by a man-eating shark, played by a real shark, filmed in a tank. But sharks were not the focus, they were obstacles. It was not until The Shark Fighter, 1956, a Mexican B-movie, that a shark was the primary villain. The film is notable only for its ridiculous poster, a man wrestling a shark with his bare hands. The Jaws Revolution, 1975. Steven Spielberg's Jaws is the most important shark film ever made, and possibly the most important blockbuster ever made. It changed everything. How films were marketed, the When the Shark Appears campaign, how soundtracks worked, John Williams' two-note motif, and how audiences viewed the ocean with terror. The film's production was a disaster. The mechanical shark, nicknamed Bruce, constantly broke down. Spielberg was forced to imply the shark's presence rather than show it. That limitation became the film's greatest strength. The shark is unseen for most of the runtime, making it a psychological threat. Jaws grossed $470 million on a $9 million budget. It created the summer blockbuster. The post-Jaws slasher era, 1976 to 1990. Jaws spawned a wave of imitators, most of them terrible. The Last Shark, 1981, was sued by Universal for copyright infringement. Great White, 1981, was an Italian ripoff so bad that the producers were convicted of fraud. Sharky's Machine, 1981, is not a shark film. It's a Burt Reynolds cop movie, but the title confused audiences. The only notable film from this era is Jaws 2, 1978, which is decent, and Jaws 3D, 1983, which is not. The shark film became a punchline. The Digital Revival, 1990 to 2015. CGI allowed filmmakers to create realistic sharks without animatronics. This led to Deep Blue Sea, 1999, a genuinely entertaining film about genetically engineered sharks. The film is famous for its smart sharks, and a scene where Samuel L. Jackson gives a heroic speech, then is eaten mid-sentence. The Shallows, 2016, is a minimalist masterpiece. One woman, One Shark, One Rock. It proved that the shark film could be revived as a survival thriller. The Asylum Era, 2010-present. The low-budget studio The Asylum created the Sharknado franchise, 2013 to 2018. These films are intentionally absurd. Tornadoes pick up sharks and throw them at Los Angeles. They are not good, but they are fun. They also saturated the market. For a few years, every streaming service had a shark movie. Most were terrible. Audiences grew tired. Thrash in context, 2026. Where does Thrash fit? It rejects the absurdity of Sharknado and the purity of the shallows. It wants the social commentary of Jaws, which was about a corrupt town council that refuses to close the beaches for profit, and the spectacle of Deep Blue Sea. It is not a revival. It is an evolution. The sharks are not the monster. The hurricane is not the monster. The monster is the system that leaves people behind. Thrash is a shark film for the climate era. 13. Climate Science, APPNDX, The Real Hurricane Henry. While Hurricane Henry is fictional, it is based on the real-world phenomenon of rapid intensification. This occurs when a tropical cyclone's maximum sustained winds increase by at least 35 miles per hour in 24 hours. Climate change is making rapid intensification more common. Warmer ocean waters provide more fuel for storms. In 2024, Hurricane Otis intensified from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in just 12 hours, slamming into Acapulco, Mexico. The death toll was officially 52, but activists say it was over 100. The damage was $15 billion. The seawall problem. Annieville's seawall is based on the real walls in Charleston, South Carolina. Many of these walls were built in the 19th century and are not designed for modern sea levels. The Army Corps of Engineers has proposed a $1.7 billion seawall for Charleston, but it has been delayed by political fights, environmental lawsuits, and cost overruns. In the meantime, neighborhoods flood regularly. The term nuisance flooding is used by officials. Residents call it the new normal. Bull sharks in freshwater. The film's use of bull sharks is scientifically accurate. Bull sharks are unique among sharks because they can survive in freshwater. They have specialized kidneys that recycle salt. They have been found in the Mississippi River as far north as Illinois and in Lake Nicaragua in Central America. They are aggressive and territorial, responsible for many nearshore attacks. However, the idea that a tanker truck of blood would attract them from miles away is exaggerated. Sharks have an incredible sense of smell, but the blood would need to be concentrated. Wirkola admitted, "We took a scientific fact and pushed it to its dramatic limit. The future of hurricanes." According to the 2025 IPCC report, Category 5 hurricanes could become twice as common by 2050. The number of storms may not increase, but their intensity will. The term, Category 6, has been informally proposed for storms with winds over 192 miles per hour. Hurricane Henry's winds were 175 miles per hour at the high end of Category 5. The film's post-credits scene, another hurricane forming, is not hyperbole. It is a projection. 14. Prop Master's Notebook details UMISSED the blood truck. License plate, RO-142. The RO stands for Render Only, a joke about the CGI blood. Company logo, Carolina Biofertilizer. The logo is a green leaf with a drop of blood. The phone number on the side is real, 843-555-0199. It rings to a voicemail recorded by Tommy Wirkola. "You've reached Carolina Biofertilizer. We're closed due to hurricane. Leave a message." Hidden detail. The driver of the truck is seen for one frame before the hurricane hits. He is played by Wirkola himself. He is smoking a cigarette and looking at a radar app on his phone. Dakota's bedroom. Posters on the wall. One poster for the band The National, a nod to the film's melancholy tone. One poster for the movie Twister, 1996. One poster for a play called The Whale. Dakota's mother was a theater fan. The cat Panic. Panic is played by two cats, both rescues from a Melbourne shelter. Their real names are Sushi and Karma. The crew built a special floating platform for them during the flood scenes. All cat scenes were filmed in a dry-for-wet rig to ensure safety. The diary. On Dakota's nightstand, there is a leather journal. It is never mentioned in the film, but if you pause on the right frame, you can see a page. Day 273. Mom would have wanted me to go outside. But Mom is dead. So what does she know? The Foster siblings' truck. Make and model, 1987 Ford F-250. The snorkel is a real modification, sourced from a desert racing shop in Arizona. The bumper sticker, I'd rather be fishing. The sticker is faded, almost unreadable. The gun rack empty. Billy sold the guns. The dynamite was kept in a toolbox under the seat. The odometer, 312,487 miles. The truck has been everywhere. The TV news crew gear. Camera, a Panasonic P2 HD. The show, Carolina Now, is fictional, but the logo was designed by a real graphic designer who worked on the newsroom. Joe Sprinkle's tie, a clip-on. He doesn't know how to tie a real tie. Doug's coffee cup, a travel mug that says, "World's okayest cameraman." Sammy Affiani, the actor, brought it from home. 15. Soundtrack analysis. Bear McCreary's SCORE track listing, official soundtrack, released April 24, 2026. The Thrumming, 214. The opening track. A low bass note repeated, overlaid with the sound of wind. No melody, no harmony, just pressure. An Evil Morning, 341. A folk guitar piece. Major key, warm, almost nostalgic, played during the pre-hurricane scenes. It is the only happy track on the album. The bridge, 522. Strings enter. Uneasy. The guitar becomes distorted. The track ends with a cello playing a single note, held for 45 seconds. Wall of Water, 608. Percussion. Low timpani drums. Brass, a tuba, played in its lowest register. The track is chaos. No structure. Pure sound. Dakota's Door, 455. The film's emotional center. A solo cello, played by Tina Gua. A simple melody. 3 notes up, 3 notes down. It repeats, each time louder, until the cello is joined by a full orchestra. The track ends with the cello alone, the 3 notes fading into silence. The Foster's Dynamite, 330. Electronic elements. Synthesizers. A drum machine. McCreary's attempt at a horror banger. It is aggressive, brutal, and ends with a single gunshot sound. Nelly's theme, 411. The hydraulophone. A bubbling, gurgling sound. Underwater. It is not scary. It is curious. It is the shark's point of view. Birth in the Water, 702. The longest track. It begins with silence, then a heartbeat. The heartbeat speeds up. Then, the cello returns, but now it is accompanied by a children's choir. The choir sings a lullaby in Norwegian, a nod to Wirkola's heritage. The track ends with a cry, the baby's cry, captured on set and mixed into the music. The Second Storm, 2 o'clock. A reprise of the thrumming, but with added distortion. The bass note is now a scream. The track does not resolve. It just stops. Thrash Suite, 1134. A medley of the main themes. 4 fans and award voters. Recording notes. The score was recorded at Abbey Road Studio 1 with the London Symphony Orchestra. McCreary used a prepared piano, objects placed on the strings, for the attack scenes. Paper clips, rubber bands, and screws. The sound is percussive and jarring. The hydraulophone was custom-built by a Canadian instrument maker. It cost $18,000. McCreary jokes that it is the most expensive shark noise in history. 16. Cultural impact and MEMES The Thrash Sweep. Within a week of release, a TikTok trend emerged called the Thrash Sweep. Users would film themselves pretending to be swept away by a wave, then land dramatically in a safe spot. A couch, a bed, a pile of laundry. The sound used was the first 3 seconds of the Wall of Water track. The trend had 200 million views. The Nelly plushie. The Netflix official plushie became a collector's item. Resellers on eBay asked for $500. A limited, bloody version, with red stains, was released for Halloween. It sold out in 4 minutes. The Dakota's Door Challenge. A mental health awareness campaign. Users posted videos of themselves opening a door, a front door, a closet door, a car door, as a metaphor for facing their fears. The campaign was organized by the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. It raised $2 million for mental health services. Controversial memes. Some memes were criticized. One popular image macro showed Billy falling into the water with the caption, "Me when I see my responsibilities." Another showed the baby crying with the caption, Me when the sequel is announced. The filmmakers did not endorse these memes. Wirkola said, "You can't control the internet. You can only surf the wave." 17. Deleted scenes, extended descriptions. Scene 1. The town hall, 8 minutes. A flashback to 3 weeks before the hurricane. A town hall meeting. Citizens argue about the seawall. A contractor offers to repair it for $2 million. The mayor says there's no money. A climate scientist warns of a Category 5. The audience laughs. Hurricanes don't hit South Carolina, a man says. That's Florida's problem. The scene ends with the mayor adjourning the meeting. Let's hope for the best. Reason for deletion: the film was already 2 hours and 18 minutes. This scene added exposition that the filmmakers felt was too on the nose. Scene 2. Dale's lab, 5 minutes. Before the hurricane, Dale is tagging sharks. He catches Nellie. He names her. He releases her. He tells a grad student. She's been coming here for 10 years. She knows this coast better than we do. The grad student asks, what if she comes back? Dale says, she will. They always do. Reason for deletion: the scene was moved to a flashback, then cut entirely. The information is implied elsewhere. Scene 3. Ron and Will's conversation, 12 minutes. An extended scene where Ron tries to explain their situation to Will. Will doesn't respond. Ron talks about their real parents. He reveals that their mother is in prison for arson. Their father is dead. Ron says, "We're alone, but we have each other." Will says his only word in the film. Okay. Reason for deletion: test audiences found the scene too sad and distracting from the sharks. Scene 4. Alternate ending, 4 minutes. After the rescue, Dakota, Lisa, and the baby are taken to a shelter. Dakota sees a door. She walks toward it. She opens it. Outside, the sun is setting. The water is receding. She takes one step outside, then another. She walks to the water's edge. She sees a dorsal fin. Nellie swimming away. Dakota smiles. Cut to black. Reason for deletion: Wirkola felt it was too hopeful. He preferred the post-credits stinger. Hope is a lie, he said. The second storm is the truth. 18. Legal and ethical controversies. The tag shark controversy. The film uses the name Nellie for a real tag great white. The real Nellie is a shark tracked by OCRCH, a marine research organization. The filmmakers paid OCRCH a $50,000 license fee to use the name. However, some conservationists argue that the film glamorizes shark attacks. OCRCH released a statement. Nellie is a real shark. She has never attacked a human. She is a vital part of the ecosystem. We hope the film inspires people to protect sharks, not fear them. Shark attacks increased by 5% in the month after the film's release, but no direct link was proven. The agoraphobia representation debate. The film was praised by some mental health advocates, but criticized by others. Dr. Harold Feynman of the National Anxiety Council wrote, "The film implies that agoraphobia can be cured by a traumatic event. This is dangerous. Recovery is a long process, not a single heroic act." Wirkola responded, "Dakota is not cured. She opens the door. That's one step. The film ends before we see her relapse. And she will relapse. That's the point." The stunt accident lawsuit. Stunt double Grace Langford, who broke her collarbone, sued the production for $5 million. Claimed through machine newest not properly maintained. The production arc that signed a waiver. The case was settled for $5 million. Claimed through machine newest not properly maintained. The production arc that signed a waiver. The case was settled for $1.2 million. Langford later said, "I don't regret it. The movie is good, but they should have been safer." 19. Box office and streaming data. Simulated. Netflix performance. Week 1, 48 million views. Number 1 in 73 countries. Week 2, 31 million views. Number 2, behind a new Adam Sandler comedy. Week 3, 19 million views. Number 4, Week 4, 12 million views. Number 7, total, first month, 110 million views. Netflix considers this a massive success. Sony's profits. Production budget, $55 million. Netflix payment, $80 million. Sony's profit, $25 million, not counting marketing, which Sony and Netflix split. Netflix's profit, not disclosed, but analysts estimate an additional $30 million in new subscribers attributed to the film. Ancillary revenue. Soundtrack sales, 500,000 units, digital and vinyl. Merchandise, $15 million, plushies, t-shirts, posters. Licensing, $5 million, airline rights, hotel TVs, etc. Total, $25 million. XX, the sequel, Thrash, Surge, 2028, speculative. While no sequel has been officially announced, Netflix has registered the domain names thrashsurge.com and thrash2.net. Sources within Hyperject Industries say a sequel is in early development. Tommy Wirkola has stated he would not return as director, but might produce. The rumored plot: Greg Wilson, the harbor master, investigates a series of shark attacks in the aftermath of the second hurricane. He discovers that the blood tanker was not an accident. It was a deliberate act of eco-terrorism. The sharks are being weaponized. No cast has been confirmed. The release date is rumored to be summer 2028. 21. Final acknowledgements. This document was assembled from press kits, interviews, leaked production notes, and original analysis. The author would like to thank the following fictional entities: Sony Pictures Archive Department, Netflix's press office, the Melbourne Film Commission, and the anonymous crew member who provided the prop master's notebook. Any errors are intentional, as perfection is not the goal. The goal is to thrash. The hurricane had no malice. It was a machine of wind and water, a heat engine powered by a sea that had grown too warm. It began as a ripple off the coast of West Africa, a thunderstorm that organized itself into a tropical depression. The depression became a storm. The storm became a hurricane. And then, in the span of 18 hours, it became something else. A Category 5 monster with sustained winds of 175 miles per hour. The meteorologists named it Henry. Henry was not special. He was the fifth hurricane of the 2026 season and the third to reach Category 5. The previous two had hit Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula, killing hundreds. Henry was different. Henry was aimed at the United States, specifically at the small coastal town of Annieville, South Carolina. The National Hurricane Center issued warnings. Evacuations were ordered, but Annieville had been through hurricanes before. Hugo in '89, Floyd in '99, Matthew in 2016. Each time, the town had survived. Each time, the residents had returned, rebuilt and forgotten. This time would be no different, or so they told themselves. In the Atlantic, Henry grew. He spun and churned and fed on the warm water. His eye contracted until it was a perfect circle of calm, surrounded by a wall of clouds that reached 16 miles into the sky. He was beautiful. He was terrible. He was coming. Chapter 2. The Shut-In. Dakota, Edwards woke to the sound of rain on the roof. Not hard rain yet, just a steady patter, like fingers tapping on a table. She lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling. The ceiling had a water stain shaped like a duck. She had named the duck George. Her phone buzzed. She didn't look at it. She knew what it would say. Her Uncle Dale, checking in. Her therapist, Dr. Amin, reminding her of their telehealth appointment. The emergency alert system, telling her to evacuate. She didn't need to read them. She already knew. She got out of bed and walked to the window. The street outside was a river of cars. Neighbors loaded SUVs with suitcases and children and pets. The Johnsons from across the street were arguing about whether to take the cat. Mrs. Johnson wanted to take the cat. Mr. Johnson wanted to leave it. The cat, a fat orange tabby named Marmalade, sat on the lawn and watched them with detached amusement. Dakota watched them too. She had watched them for years. She knew their routines. The Johnsons left for work at 7:15. They walked their dog at 8 o'clock. They turned off their porch light at 10:30. She knew these things because she had nothing else to do. She hadn't left her house in 9 months. The agoraphobia had started small. A panic attack at the grocery store, then another at the gas station. Then, she couldn't drive more than a mile from home. Then she couldn't leave the driveway. Then she couldn't open the front door. The last time she had stepped outside was the day of her mother's funeral. She had stood at the graveside, wearing a black dress that was too tight, and watched them lower the casket into the ground. She had not cried. She had not spoken. She had simply turned around, walked back to the car, and driven home. She had not left since. Her mother's name was Linda. She had died of a heart attack at age 62. She had been a schoolteacher, a widow, a woman who loved gardening and crime novels and her daughter very much. The house still smelled like her, lavender and old books and something else, something indefinable, the smell of a person who is no longer there. Dakota had not changed the sheets on her mother's bed. She had not washed her mother's coffee cup. She had not thrown away the last carton of milk her mother had bought, which had long since curdled and been thrown out by someone else. The home health aide, probably, or Dale. She looked at the front door. It was painted blue, her mother's favorite color. The deadbolt was shiny and new. Dakota had installed it herself, watching a YouTube tutorial, because she was afraid someone would break in. The irony was not lost on her. She was afraid of the outside world, so she had locked herself inside. The door was not a barrier. It was a coffin lid. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. A text from Dale. Get out. Now. I'll meet you at the high school. She typed, I can't. Then she deleted it. She typed, I'm fine. Then she deleted it. She typed, I love you. She sent it. Dale replied, I love you too. Now move your ass. She smiled, a small, sad smile. Then she put the phone down and walked to the kitchen. She made coffee. She drank it black. She sat at the kitchen table and watched the rain get harder. Chapter 3. The Bridge. Lisa Marino had been driving for 6 hours. Her back ached. Her feet were swollen. Her unborn son was kicking her bladder with the enthusiasm of a soccer player. She had stopped twice to pee, once to eat a gas station sandwich that tasted like cardboard, and once to cry in a McDonald's parking lot because she couldn't find her phone charger. Her husband, Mark, was on a container ship somewhere in the Pacific. He had left 3 weeks ago, promising to be back before the baby came. But the baby was coming early. The doctors had said it was borderline premature, but probably fine. Lisa had decided not to tell Mark. There was nothing he could do. He was 10 days away from port. By the time he got home, the baby would be born, and the hurricane would be over, and everything would be fine. That was the plan. The plan had not accounted for the traffic. The bridge out of Annieville was a 2-lane concrete span that crossed the Wando Inlet. Normally, it took 5 minutes to cross. Today, it took an hour to reach the on-ramp. The cars were bumper to bumper, inching forward, their engines idling, their drivers staring at their phones. Lisa had been inching forward for 2 hours. She was still a mile from the bridge. A police officer walked past her window. She rolled it down. Ma'am, you need to turn around, he said. His nameplate read Brian. He looked tired and young and scared, though he was trying not to show it. I'm trying to get to Charleston, Lisa said. My hospital is there. Charleston is already evacuating. They're sending everyone to Columbia. Then I'll go to Columbia. The roads to Columbia are closed. Flooding. Then where am I supposed to go? The officer looked at her. He looked at her belly. He did the math. There's a shelter at St. Anne's Church, he said. High ground. Generator. A nurse volunteers there. I don't go to church. You don't have to pray. You just have to survive. Lisa felt a contraction. Not a Braxton Hicks this time. A real one. She gripped the steering wheel and breathed through it. How far is the church? She asked. 10 minutes. If you turn around now. She looked in her rearview mirror. The cars behind her had no room to turn around. The cars ahead of her were still inching forward. She was trapped. Keep the church in mind, the officer said. He walked away. Lisa put her head on the steering wheel. She wanted her mother. Her mother was dead. She wanted her husband. Her husband was at sea. She wanted a miracle. The rain got harder. She inched forward. Chapter 4. The Foster Kids. Dee Olson was 12 years old, but she felt 100. She had been in foster care since she was 4, bouncing from house to house, from county to county, from disaster to disaster. She had learned to read people the way other kids learn to read books. She could tell within 5 minutes whether a foster parent was kind or cruel, stable or unstable, sober or drunk. Billy and Rachel Olson were not the worst she had seen, but they were far from the best. Billy drank. Not all the time, but enough. He drank when he was stressed, which was always. He drank when he was happy, which was rare. He drank when he was bored, which was often. The drinking made him mean. Not violent, exactly. He had never hit Dee, never hit Ron, never hit Will. But he had a way of talking that made you feel small. A way of looking at you that made you feel like you were a burden, an inconvenience, a check that had arrived in the mail. Rachel was different. Rachel was kind but weak. She knew what Billy was doing, stealing their welfare checks, spending the money on beer and truck parts and lottery tickets, but she didn't stop him. She said things like, "He means well, and he's had a hard life, and at least he's not hitting you." Dee had learned to smile at Rachel and nod and plan her escape. Ron, her older brother, was 17. He had a quiet intensity, a way of watching that reminded Dee of a wolf. He had been in foster care even longer than Dee. He remembered their real parents, a woman who set fires and a man who ran away. Ron didn't talk about them. He didn't talk about much at all. But he had a plan. The plan involved the truck. The truck was a 1987 Ford F-250, blue and rusted, with a snorkel attached to the air intake. Billy had installed the snorkel for off-roading, which meant driving through the swamp behind the house. But Ron had a different idea. The snorkel meant the truck could drive through deep water. It meant the truck could escape a flood. It meant the truck was their ticket out. The truck was also locked. Billy kept the keys on a chain around his neck. Dee had tried to steal them twice. The first time, Billy woke up. The second time, Rachel saw her. Dee had learned patience. She had learned to wait. Now, as the rain pounded the roof and the wind rattled the windows, she sat on the floor of the attic and waited. Ron sat across from her, sharpening a knife. Will, their 6-year-old brother, hummed a tuneless song and drew a picture of a shark. "Don't draw that," Ron said. "Why?" Will asked. "It's bad luck." "Sharks aren't bad luck. Sharks are just hungry." Ron looked at Dee. Dee looked at Ron. They had the same thought. Will was too smart for his own good. The wind held. The house shook. The flood was coming. Part 2. The TMPST Chapter 5. The First Wave. The seawall broke at 3:47 p.m. It did not break dramatically, like in the movies, with a single explosion of concrete and spray. It broke slowly, almost gently, like a bone that has been stressed too many times and finally gives way. A crack appeared at the base. Water pushed through. The crack widened. A chunk of concrete fell into the inlet. Then another. Then another. And then, with a groan that could be heard a mile away, a 50-foot section of the wall collapsed entirely. The ocean poured through. It was not a wave. It was a wall. A wall of brown water, 10 feet high, filled with debris, cars and trees and pieces of houses and a tanker truck carrying 5,000 gallons of bovine blood. The truck flipped. The blood mixed with the water. The scent traveled miles. The sharks arrived within minutes. Bull sharks, mostly. They were the ones that could handle the fresh water, the ones that were aggressive, the ones that had been waiting for an opportunity like this. They swam through the flooded streets, their dorsal fins cutting the surface, their eyes scanning for movement. They found it. The first victim was a man named Jimmy Walker. He was 63 years old, a retired plumber who had refused to evacuate because he didn't want to leave his dog. The dog, a beagle named Duke, had already drowned. Jimmy was trying to reach the dog's body when a bull shark took his leg off at the knee. He screamed for 11 seconds. Then he stopped. The second victim was a teenager named Marcus Thorne. He was 17, a star quarterback, a boy who had never been afraid of anything. He was swimming toward a rooftop when the shark took his arm. He didn't scream. He just looked at the stump, puzzled, as if he couldn't understand what had happened. Then he went under. The third victim was the tanker truck driver. He had survived the crash. He was clinging to a traffic light when the sharks found him. They didn't kill him quickly. They took him piece by piece, and he screamed until his lungs filled with water. The town of Annieville was dying, and the hurricane hadn't even fully arrived. Chapter 6. The Sinking Car. Lisa saw the water rising and thought, "This is how I die." She was still in her car, still on the bridge approach, still trapped between the cars ahead of her and the cars behind her. The water was up to her tires, then up to her doors, then up to her windows. The car began to float. She unbuckled her seatbelt. She tried to open the door. The water pressure held it shut. She tried to roll down the window. The electricity was dead. She grabbed her phone. No signal. She grabbed her hospital bag. Too heavy. She grabbed the baby. The baby was kicking. Kicking hard. Kicking like he knew. She took a deep breath. She punched the window. It didn't break. She punched it again. Nothing. She took off her shoe and slammed the heel against the glass. A crack appeared. She slammed again. The glass spiderwebbed. One more slam. It broke. Water poured in. Cold. Dark. Filled with silt and gasoline and something else. Something that tasted like iron. Blood. The tanker truck. She pulled herself through the window, scraping her belly on the broken glass. The water was up to her chest. She looked around. The cars ahead of her were sinking too. People were screaming. A woman was standing on the roof of a minivan, holding a toddler. A man was swimming toward a telephone pole. A shark fin circled. Lisa swam toward the closest building, a parking garage. The water was only 4 feet deep there. She could climb the ramp. She could get to higher ground. She could survive. The contraction hit her like a fist. She doubled over, gasping. The baby was coming. Not in 3 weeks. Not in 3 days. Now. She made it to the parking garage. She pulled herself onto the concrete ramp. She crawled to a corner and curled into a ball. The rain pounded her back. The wind screamed in her ears. The water rose around her. She closed her eyes. She prayed to a God she didn't believe in. Please, not here. Not like this. When she opened her eyes, she saw a face in a window. A young woman, brown hair, brown eyes, looking down at her from a second-story house. The house was old, blue, with a white porch and a deadbolt on the front door. The woman in the window was Dakota, and she was terrified. Chapter 7, The Door. Dakota had been watching the flood from her bedroom window. She had seen the cars sink. She had heard the screams. She had done nothing. She couldn't do anything. She was trapped inside her own head, inside her own house, inside her own fear. Then she saw Lisa. Lisa was on the parking garage ramp, curled in a ball, clutching her belly. The water was rising. A shark was circling below. Lisa didn't see it. She was too focused on breathing, on surviving, on the baby. Dakota watched the shark. She watched the water. She watched Lisa. And something inside her snapped. Not broke. Snapped. Like a rubber band that had been stretched too far and finally released. She felt a surge of something she hadn't felt in months. Purpose. She walked to the front door. She put her hand on the deadbolt. She paused. The agoraphobia was still there. It was a voice in her head, a physical weight on her chest, a cold hand around her throat. Don't open it, the voice said. You'll die out there. You'll drown. You'll get eaten. You'll have a panic attack, and your heart will stop and you'll die alone in the water, and no one will find your body. Dakota closed her eyes. She thought of her mother. Her mother, who had taught her to swim. Her mother, who had taken her to the beach every summer. Her mother, who had held her hand when she was scared. Mom, she thought, I'm scared. And then she opened the door. The rain hit her face. It was cold and hard and real. She took a step outside, then another. The world was loud and bright and chaotic. She wanted to run back inside. She wanted to curl up in her bed and pull the covers over her head. But she didn't. She kept walking. She reached the parking garage. The water was up to her waist. She waded toward Lisa. Hey, she shouted. Hey, can you hear me? Lisa looked up. Her face was pale. Her lips were blue. Her eyes were wide with pain and fear. My baby, Lisa whispered. He's coming. Dakota looked at the water. She looked at the shark. She looked at the house. Can you swim? She asked. No. Can you float? I don't know. Dakota grabbed a piece of debris, a broken door, still attached to its hinges. She pushed it toward Lisa. Hold on to this. I'll pull you. Lisa grabbed the door. Dakota pulled. The water resisted. The shark circled closer. The rain pounded harder. It took them 10 minutes to cross the 50 feet to the house. 10 minutes of swimming and pulling and praying. 10 minutes of contractions and screams and near misses. 10 minutes that felt like a lifetime. They made it to the front door. Dakota pulled Lisa inside. She slammed the door behind them. She locked the deadbolt. The water was already seeping in under the door. But they were inside. They were alive. For now. Part 3, the AFTRMATH Chapter 8, The Birth. The baby was born at 7:23 p.m. It took 4 hours. 4 hours of contractions and screaming and pushing and panic. 4 hours of Dakota watching YouTube videos on her phone, following instructions she didn't fully understand, trying to remember the first aid class she had taken in high school. Lisa was strong. Stronger than Dakota had expected. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She just breathed and pushed and breathed and pushed. Her eyes fixed on the ceiling, her hands gripping Dakota's arm. The water rose around them. It covered the floor. It covered the couch. It covered the kitchen table. The house was sinking, slowly, inevitably, like a ship going down. But the baby didn't care. The baby was coming. Dakota caught him. He was small and slippery and purple, not breathing at first. And for a terrible moment she thought he was dead. Then he coughed. Then he cried. Then he opened his eyes. Lisa took him. She held him against her chest. She named him Henry, after the hurricane. Dakota laughed. It was a hysterical laugh, a laugh of exhaustion and relief and disbelief. She had delivered a baby. She had opened a door. She had done something impossible. The house groaned. The water reached the second floor. "We have to go," Dakota said. Lisa looked at her. "Where?" "I don't know, but we can't stay here." Chapter 9, The Rowboat. The rowboat was wedged in a tree. A live oak, old and gnarled, its branches reaching out like arms. The boat had come from somewhere, a dock, a marina, a backyard, and the flood had carried it here. It was fiberglass, green, with 2 oars and a hole in the bottom. Dakota swam to it. She pushed it free. She rowed back to the house. Lisa was waiting on the porch. The water was up to her waist. She held Henry in one arm and clung to a railing with the other. Dakota pulled them into the boat. The boat wobbled. The hole let in water. Dakota used her shoe to plug the hole. It didn't work, but it slowed the leak. The shark came out of nowhere. A bull shark, 10 feet long, its mouth open, its teeth like needles. It rammed the boat. The boat tipped. Lisa screamed. Henry cried. The shark circled back. Dakota grabbed an oar. She swung it like a baseball bat. The oar hit the shark's snout. The shark shook its head and swam away. But it would be back. Chapter 10, The Arrival. Dale's boat appeared through the rain. It was a small fishing boat, 20 feet long, with a cabin and a radar mast. Dale stood at the bow, a bang stick in his hand. Behind him, Joe Sprinkle held a camera, filming everything. Doug held a spotlight. "Nellie!" Dale shouted. The great white shark surfaced. She was 24 feet long, a silver-gray torpedo with a white belly. The bull shark turned to face her. The 2 sharks circled each other. Nellie struck first. She rammed the bull shark, her snout connecting with its side. The bull shark snapped at her gills. Nellie twisted away and came back, her jaws open. She bit the bull shark's tail. The bull shark screamed, a sound like a cat being stepped on, and swam away. Nellie watched it go. Then she turned and swam toward the boat. Dale held his breath. The bang stick was ready, but Nellie didn't attack. She swam under the boat, brushed against the hull, and disappeared into the murky water. Dale exhaled. "Uncle Dale!" Dakota shouted. Dale looked up. He saw her. He saw Lisa. He saw the baby. He smiled. "I told you to move your ass," he said. Dakota laughed. She was crying. She didn't care. They pulled the rowboat alongside the fishing boat. Dale helped Lisa and the baby aboard. He helped Dakota. He hugged her. She hugged him back. "You're okay," he said. "You're okay." "I know," she said. She wasn't sure she believed it. They sailed away from Annieville. The town was gone. The houses were rubble. The streets were rivers. The church steeple had collapsed. The seawall was a memory. The rain stopped. The wind died. The hurricane had passed. Dale looked at his radar. "We have to get to high ground. There's another storm forming." Greg Wilson's voice came over the radio. "Dale, you there?" "I'm here. I'm looking at the satellite. Tropical Depression Ida. It's intensifying fast. Category 4 by morning. Where's it headed?" "Georgia coast. But it could shift." Dale looked at the horizon. The sky was clearing. The sun was setting. It was beautiful. "Greg," he said, "we'll deal with it tomorrow." He turned off the radio. Dakota sat beside him. She was shivering. He gave her his jacket. "What happens now?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "We find a shelter. We find food. We find a phone. And then we start over." She looked at the water. A dorsal fin cut the surface. Nellie, swimming alongside them, escorting them out. "She's following us," Dakota said. "She does that," Dale said. "She's curious. Is she dangerous?" "Everything is dangerous. But not everything wants to hurt you." Dakota watched the fin until it disappeared into the sunset. She thought about her house, her blue door, her bed, her mother's coffee cup. She thought about Lisa and Henry, the baby she had delivered, the life she had helped bring into the world. She thought about the door, the way it had felt to open it, the way the rain had hit her face. She smiled. It was a small smile, a tired smile, a smile that had seen too much and survived anyway. The boat sailed on. The storm was over. Another one was coming. But that was tomorrow. Today they were alive. XEI, complete character BACKS TRS Dakota Edwards Whitney Peak. Birth date, March 14th, 2004. Parents, Linda Edwards, mother, schoolteacher, died 2025, and Marcus Edwards, father, fisherman, died 2010 in a boating accident. Education, Annieville High School, class of 2022. Attended Clemson University for 1 semester before dropping out due to anxiety. Occupation, none on disability. Phobia onset, September 2025, 3 weeks after her mother's funeral. First panic attack at a Walmart, second at a gas station, third in her driveway. By October, she could not leave the house. Treatment, sertraline, 100 milligrams daily, weekly telehealth therapy, no progress in 6 months. Hobbies, watching YouTube tutorials, playing solitaire, reading true crime novels, listening to the band The National. Greatest fear, that her mother died thinking she was a disappointment. Greatest hope, to see the ocean again. Lisa Marino, Phoebe Dynevor. Birth date, August 22nd, 1992. Parents, Catherine Rialto, mother, nurse, living in Florida, and Daniel Rialto, father, deceased 2018, heart attack. Education, University of South Carolina, BA in Early Childhood Education, 2014. Occupation, preschool teacher, Annieville Elementary. Marriage, to Mark Marino, Merchant Marine, married 2022. Pregnancy, 38 weeks, first child, boy, name, Henry Mark Marino. Medical history, gestational diabetes, controlled by diet. Previous miscarriage at 10 weeks, 2024. Personality, pragmatic, stubborn, fiercely protective. She does not cry easily. She did not cry at her wedding. She did not cry at her father's funeral. She cried in the McDonald's parking lot. Greatest fear, dying before her baby knows her. Greatest hope, that Mark makes it home. Dr. Dale Edwards Djimon Hounsou. Birth date, June 9th, 1968. Birthplace, Cotonou, Benin. Immigration, moved to the U.S. in 1989 for graduate school. Education, University of Benin, B.S. in Marine Biology, 1990. University of Miami, Ph.D. in Marine Biology, 1996. Occupation, Senior Marine Researcher, South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Specialty, shark migration patterns, specifically the great white shark. Family, Linda Edwards was his sister. He has no children. His wife, Fatima, died of cancer in 2015. He lives alone in a beach house on Folly Island. Nellie, he tagged the great white shark in 2018. He named her after his grandmother, who was a free diver in Benin. He has tracked her for 8 years. She has never attacked a human. Personality, quiet, patient, deeply empathetic. He speaks softly and listens carefully. He is the only person who can reach Dakota. Greatest fear, that he has failed his niece. Greatest hope, to see her walk on the beach again. Billy Olson, Matt Nabel. Birth date, January 17th, 1978. Birthplace, Charleston, South Carolina. Parents, Billy Olson Sr., alcoholic, deceased 2005, and Margaret Olson, enabler, deceased 2010. Education, dropped out of high school at 16, GED at 19. Military, U.S. Navy, 1996 to 2000, dishonorable discharge for theft. Occupation, unlicensed contractor, occasional day laborer. Criminal record, 3 DUIs, 1 petty theft, 1 arrest for fraud dropped. Marriage, to Rachel Matthews, married 2005. They met in a bar. She was a waitress. He was drunk. It was not a good start. Foster children, D, 12, Ron, 17, Will, 6. He and Rachel have been their foster parents for 3 years. Theft, He stole $18,000 from the children's welfare payments over 2 years. He spent it on beer, truck parts, lottery tickets, and a failed business venture, a shrimp boat that sank. Personality: charming when sober, mean when drunk. He believes he is a good man who has made bad choices. He is wrong. He is a bad man who has made bad choices. Greatest fear: being alone. Greatest hope: that someone will love him anyway. Rachel Olsen, Amy Matthews. Birth date: November 2nd, 1980. Birthplace: Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Education: high school diploma, 1 semester of community college, nursing program dropped out. Occupation: waitress, then full-time foster parent. Marriage: to Billy Olsen, married 2005. She knows he steals. She knows he drinks. She looks the other way because she is afraid of being alone. Foster children: she loves them, but she loves Billy more. This is her sin. Personality: kind, weak, desperate for approval. She has never had a therapist. She should have had a therapist. Greatest fear: that she is not a good person. Greatest hope: that Billy will change. He won't. D. Olsen, Alala Brown. Birth date: July 4th, 2014. Birth parents: unknown. Mother is in prison for arson. Father is unknown. Foster care history: 7 placements in 8 years. The Olsens are the longest. Personality: quiet, observant, calculating. She has the eyes of someone who has seen too much. She does not trust adults. She trusts her brothers. Skills: lock-picking, self-taught, reading people, staying quiet. The dynamite: she found it in Billy's toolbox. She knew what it was. She had a plan. Billy's death: she does not feel guilty. She feels relieved. She will never admit this to anyone. Greatest fear: that she will become like her mother. Greatest hope: to go to art school. She wants to paint. Ron Olsen, Stacy Clausen. Birth date: May 19th, 2009. Birth parents: D. Same mother, different father. Foster care history: same as D. Personality: quiet, intense, protective. He has been the man of the family since he was 12. He is tired. Skills: knife handling, mechanics, planning. The truck: he has been planning to escape for a year. The snorkel was his idea. He convinced Billy to install it. Billy's death: he pushed Billy. He does not feel guilty. He feels nothing. This scares him. Greatest fear: that he will fail his siblings. Greatest hope: to get a job, a car, an apartment. To be normal. Birth date: March 2nd, 2020. Birth parents: same mother, different father unknown. Foster care history: he was removed from the mother at birth. He has never met her. He does not ask about her. Personality: quiet, withdrawn, possibly on the autism spectrum, never diagnosed. He hums when he is stressed. He draws sharks. Injury: Billy broke his arm when he was 4. Will does not remember. His body remembers. The humming: he hums a song his real mother used to sing. He does not know where he learned it. Greatest fear: the dark. He will not admit this. Greatest hope: to see a real shark, not in a movie, not in a drawing, a real one. Ziv, Thematic ESSOSSA1. The door is metaphor. The front door of Dakota's house appears in 23 shots. It is blue. It has a deadbolt. It is shown from the inside, from the outside, from above, from below. It is the most important prop in the film. The door represents boundaries between inside and outside, safety and danger, self and world. For Dakota, the door is a barrier that protects her from the things she fears most: exposure. As long as the door is closed, she is in control. As long as the door is closed, she does not have to confront her agoraphobia. But the door is also a prison. By locking herself in, Dakota has locked the world out. She cannot grow. She cannot heal. She cannot live. She is a plant in a dark room, slowly dying. The hurricane forces her to open the door. Not because she wants to, but because she has to. Lisa's dying. The baby is coming. The water is rising. The door is the only thing standing between life and death. When Dakota opens the door, she does not conquer her fear. She walks through it despite her fear. This is the film's thesis. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is fear that has been put to use. The final shot of the film, the post-credit stinger, does not show the door. It shows a satellite image of another hurricane. The implication is clear. Dakota will face her door again. The storm will come again. The fear will return. But she has opened the door once. She can open it again. Essay 2. The foster siblings as the American underclass. D. Ron and Will are not victims of the hurricane. They are victims of the system that failed them long before the water rose. The hurricane is merely the final act of a tragedy that began at their birth. The film is explicit about this. Billy steals their money. Rachel enables him. The state does nothing. The social worker assigned to their case appears in a single deleted scene. She is overworked, underpaid, and powerless. The foster system is not a safety net. It is a trap. The siblings' survival depends on their own resources. Ron's planning, Dee's cunning, Will's strange resilience. They do not rely on the government, the police, or the charity of strangers. They rely on each other. And when that is not enough, they rely on dynamite. Their arc is the most politically radical part of the film. They do not find redemption. They do not find justice. They find a truck, a highway, and an uncertain future. The film does not tell us where they go. It does not tell us if they will be okay. It simply shows them driving away, leaving the destruction behind. This is not a happy ending, but it is an honest one. For children of the underclass, survival is the only victory. Essay 3. Nellie and the Nature of the Monster. The great white shark is the most famous monster in cinema history. Jaws made her a symbol of primal terror, an eating machine without conscience or motive. Thrash rejects this characterization. Nellie is not a monster. She is an animal. She is curious, intelligent, and indifferent to human suffering. She does not hunt Lisa and Dakota because she is evil. She does not attack the bull sharks because she is good. She acts on instinct, hunger, territory, self-preservation. The film's most radical choice is to make Nellie a protagonist. She saves the survivors not out of heroism, but out of coincidence. She is in the right place at the right time. She does what sharks do. The humans interpret her actions as rescue. This is the film's comment on nature. It is not malevolent, but it is not benevolent either. It simply is. The hurricane is not punishment. The shark is not a demon. They are forces, like gravity or time. The only meaning they have is the meaning we assign to them. Dale understands this. He does not hate Nellie. He respects her. He has studied her for years. He knows that she is not a threat to humans, not intentionally anyway. The real threat is the water, the wind, the collapsing seawall. The real monster is the system that failed to prepare. XXV. Production Diaries. Week by week. Week 1. July 15th to 21st, 2024. The tank. The flood tank is not ready. The carpenters are still building the house set. This response is AI generated. For reference, only. More. Here is the 4th and final volume of the Thrash, 2026, complete archive. This volume contains the remaining production diaries, full shot list, critical essays, audience reaction studies, legal documents, merchandising history, award submissions, and the ultimate legacy analysis. This brings the total document to well over 30,000 words. Thrash, 2026 Volume 4, the complete archive, final, 25. Production diaries, week by week. CONTED Week 2, July 22nd to 28th, 2024, the first shark. The animatronic Great White, nicknamed Big Nellie by the crew, arrived from Weta Workshop in New Zealand. It came in 6 crates, each weighing over a ton. The assembly took 3 days. When it was finally lowered into the tank, everyone gathered to watch. The shark was beautiful. Its skin was a realistic gray, with subtle scars and barnacles. Its eyes were glass, but they seemed to follow you. Its mouth contained 72 teeth, each hand-carved from dental acrylic. The hydraulics allowed it to open its jaws, swish its tail, and roll its eyes back in its head, a detail that Wirkola had insisted on. "It's the little things," he said. "When a shark attacks, its eyes roll back to protect them. Most movies don't show that. We're going to show it." The first test run was a disaster. The hydraulics failed, and the shark's tail fell off. The Weta technicians worked through the night to repair it. By morning, it was working perfectly. The tail swished, the jaws opened, the eyes rolled. Phoebe Dynevor stood at the edge of the tank, staring at the shark. "I'm supposed to get in the water with that thing?" she asked. "It's not real," Wirkola said. "It looks real." That's the point. She got in. The shark lunged at her. She screamed. The crew laughed. She got out. She refused to go back in for 2 hours. Week 3, July 29th to August 4th, 2024, the blood tanker. The blood tanker sequence was filmed over 5 days. The truck was a real tanker, purchased from a salvage yard in New South Wales. It was painted with the fictional Carolina Biofertilizer logo and filled with 5,000 gallons of fake blood, a mixture of corn syrup, red food coloring, and water. The fake blood cost $20,000 to produce. It stained everything it touched. The crew wore hazmat suits. The sequence required the tanker to flip over in a controlled explosion. The special effects team used hydraulic rams to launch the truck into the air. It flipped 3 times before landing on its side. The explosion was real, no CGI. The fireball reached 50 feet high. The sound of the explosion was so loud that it triggered car alarms in a parking lot half a mile away. The police received 14 noise complaints. The production had permits, but the neighbors were not happy. Wirkola sent them all free movie tickets. Week 4, August 5th to 11th, 2024, Whitney Peak's panic attack. The scene where Dakota has a panic attack in the rowboat was filmed on a Thursday afternoon. Whitney Peak had prepared for weeks, working with a movement coach to simulate hyperventilation. But when the cameras rolled, something shifted. "I don't know what happened," she said later. "I was in the boat. The water was cold. The rain was real. And I just felt it. The fear. The drowning. The hopelessness. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't acting anymore." The crew didn't realize she was having a real panic attack. They kept filming. For 90 seconds, Whitney thrashed and gasped and cried. Then she collapsed. The safety diver pulled her out of the water. She was hyperventilating. Her hands were numb. Her heart was racing. The medic gave her oxygen. She calmed down after 20 minutes. When she watched the playback, she started crying again. "That's the take," Wirkola said. "That's the movie." Whitney nodded. She didn't argue. "The take is in the final film. It is unaltered. The panic is real." Week 5, August 12th to 18th, 2024, the birth scene. The birth scene was filmed in a single day, but it took 18 hours. The production hired a neonatal nurse to consult on the medical accuracy. The baby was played by a newborn named Oliver, the son of a crew member. Oliver was 6 weeks old. He was paid $500 for his work, which went into a college fund. The scene required Oliver to be submerged in water for several seconds. This is not safe for a real newborn, so the production used a silicone doll for the underwater shots. The doll cost $8,000 and looked eerily real. Several crew members refused to touch it. Phoebe Dynevor was exhausted by the end of the day. She had been in the water for 12 hours. Her prosthetic belly had developed a leak, and it was filling with water, making it heavier. She could barely stand. "I never want to give birth again," she joked. "And I've never given birth for real." Week 6, August 19th to 25th, 2024, the Foster House explosion. The dynamite sequence required the Foster House to be partially destroyed. The production built a 1:1 scale replica of the house's ground floor, then rigged it with explosives. The explosion was designed to be small, just enough to blow out the windows and collapse a wall. But the special effects team miscalculated. The explosion was much larger than intended. The entire replica was destroyed. Debris flew 100 feet in the air. A piece of wood landed on a camera, destroying it. No one was injured, but the crew was shaken. "Did we get it?" Wirkola asked. The camera operator checked the footage. "We got it. Good. Don't do it again." They didn't. Week 7, August 26th to September 1st, 2024, the Great White Rescue. The final sequence, Nellie saving the boat, was the most technically complex. It required the animatronic shark, the real actors, and a CGI shark all working together. The animatronic was used for close-ups. The CGI shark was used for wide shots. The transition between the two had to be seamless. The sequence took 4 days to film. Djimon Hounsou stood on the boat for most of it, holding the bang stick, waiting for the shark to appear. The shark appeared 47 times. Each time, Hounsou pretended to be surprised. "How do you do that?" a crew member asked. "How do you act surprised 47 times?" "I think about my grandmother," Hounsou said. "She used to jump out from behind doors and scare me. Every time I was surprised. Every time she laughed. The final shot, Nellie swimming under the boat, was filmed from below using a waterproof camera. The camera was attached to a remote-controlled submarine. The submarine was guided by a pilot who could not see the tank. He relied on monitors. He crashed the submarine into the shark 3 times. On the 4th try, he got the shot. The final day of filming was emotional. The crew had worked together for 8 weeks through injuries and breakdowns and technical failures. They had become a family. Tommy Wirkola gave a speech. He thanked everyone. He cried. He was not ashamed. "We made something special," he said. "I don't know if it's good, but it's special." The cast and crew applauded. Then they went to a bar and got drunk. Phoebe Dynevor bought the first round. Whitney Peak bought the second. Djimon Hounsou bought the third, then left early because he had a flight to catch. The bar tab was $4,800. The production paid for it. 26. Complete shot list. Selected pages. This is a partial reconstruction of a film's shot list, showing the level of detail in the pre-production planning. Defendants failed to maintain the wave machine in safe working order. Defendants failed to heed plaintiff's warning about the grinding noise. Defendants failed to provide adequate safety equipment. Count 2. Negligence. Sony Pictures Entertainment Incorporated. Defendants failed to supervise the stunt coordinator. Defendants failed to ensure compliance with Australian workplace safety laws. Count 3. Negligence. Netflix Incorporated. Defendants acquire the rights to the film after the accident, but are nonetheless vicariously liable as the successor in interest. Thrash was the 4th most streamed film on Netflix in 2026, 110 million views. It was the most discussed film on Reddit's r/horror for 6 consecutive months. Whitney Peak's career exploded. She was cast in a Greta Gerwig film and a Marvel movie. Phoebe Dynevor received an Emmy nomination for a different project, but credited Thrash with proving her range. Tommy Wirkola announced his romantic comedy, No Sharks. It received mixed reviews. The real Nellie the Shark, OCRCH, became a social media sensation. Her tracking page had 10 million visits in 2026. The town of Annieville, South Carolina, fictional, saw a tourism bump. A real town, Georgetown, South Carolina, began offering Thrash tours, boat rides through flood-prone areas. They were criticized as disaster porn. 5 years later, 2031, Thrash was inducted into the Cult Movie Hall of Fame by the Alamo Drafthouse. A 4K Blu-ray was released with a director's cut, 15 minutes longer, including the deleted town hall scene. The film was taught in 20 university courses, including climate change cinema at UCLA and horror and mental health at NYU. A stage adaptation was announced. Musical? Serious drama? No one knew. It never materialized. Whitney Peak gave an interview. "People still come up to me and say, 'You opened the door for me.' That's the best compliment I've ever received." 10 years later, 2036, Thrash is considered a classic of climate fiction. It is ranked number 18 on Rolling Stone's Best Horror Films of the 21st Century. The film's prediction of more frequent Category 5 hurricanes proved accurate. In 2035, 3 Category 5 hurricanes made landfall in the United States. Nellie the Shark, the real one, was still alive, still tracked, still swimming. She was 30 years old for a great white. Scientists called her the most famous shark in the world. Tommy Wirkola, now 55, announced a sequel, Thrash: Deep Water. It would focus on the foster siblings as adults. Phoebe Dynevor and Whitney Peak were rumored to return. The budget was $100 million. A fan-made documentary, Opening the Door, The Making of Thrash, was released on YouTube. It had 20 million views. The blue door from Dakota's house, the original prop, was sold at auction for $45,000. The buyer was a mental health charity. They displayed it in their lobby with a plaque. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is fear that has been put to use. XXXI, Trivia and Easter eggs, Master List, Hidden Details in the Film, Chronological Order. Minute 047, the satellite image of Hurricane Henry includes a tiny boat in the corner. The boat has a red hull. This is a reference to the orca from Jaws. Minute 412, Dakota's laptop wallpaper changes briefly. For one frame, it's a photo of Tommy Wirkola holding a shark plushie. Minute 733, the gas station sign in the background reads regular. 4.79 Premium, 4.79 Premium, 5.19 Diesel, $4.99. These were the actual prices in South Carolina on the day of filming. Minute 11:05, the book on Dakota's nightstand is The Silent World by Jacques Cousteau. It is open to a chapter about sharks. Minute 15:44, the officer's badge number, Brian, is 157. This is the number of minutes in the theatrical cut, 2 hours, 37 minutes. Minute 18:22, the Foster siblings' TV is playing a news report. The anchor mentions Hurricane Henry is the third Category 5 of the season. This is a reference to the 2024 season, which had 2 Category 5s. Minute 22:01, the blood truck's GPS coordinates, visible on a dashboard screen, lead to a real address in Melbourne, the studio where the film was shot. Minute 26:34, the seawall has a plaque dedicated to the citizens of Annieville, 1957. 1957 was the year of Hurricane Audrey, which killed 416 people. Minute 31:18, when the seawall breaks, a single frame shows a child's toy floating past. The toy is a rubber shark. Minute 35:47, Dakota's panic attack in the rowboat includes a brief flash of her mother's face. The actress who played Linda, uncredited, was Whitney Peak's real-life aunt. Minute 41:05, the YouTube video for emergency childbirth is paused at 2:22. The timestamp is visible. Minute 44:09, when the baby is born, the reflection in his eye shows the silhouette of a shark. This was a digital effect added in post-production. It is not visible to the naked eye. You must zoom in. Minute 48:33. The Foster siblings' truck has a bumper sticker that says, "My other car is a shark." This was Al LeBron's idea. Minute 52:01. Dale's boat is named the Linda after his sister, Dakota's mother. Minute 55:47. In the final shot, the satellite shows another hurricane forming. The hurricane has a name, Ida. This is a reference to the 2021 Hurricane Ida, which caused $75 billion in damage. Set secrets. The blue door of Dakota's house was originally red. Wirkola changed it because blue is the color of sadness. The cat, Panic, was named by Whitney Peak. She said, "I have a cat named Anxiety." It felt right. The fake blood used in the tanker sequence smelled like maple syrup. Several crew members developed a craving for pancakes. The animatronic shark was so heavy that it damaged the floor of the tank. Repairs cost $50,000. During the birth scene, the silicone baby doll was so realistic that a crew member tried to perform CPR on it. He was embarrassed when he realized it was fake. The Foster house explosion was filmed at 3 a.m. The neighbors were not warned. The police received 47 calls. Djimon Hounsou improvised his line, "She's curious," about Nellie. It was not in the script. The post-credits stinger was filmed on an iPhone. Wirkola said, "It looked better than the expensive cameras. Don't tell anyone."